All right, so the snow hasn't hit yet, but we're here today to talk a little bit about winter driving. So what I like to do is break it down into kind of 4 categories. So we're talking about getting your vehicle ready for winter, getting yourself ready for winter, how to prepare to go on a trip, and then the last thing is what to do if you end up stranded. So first of all, let's talk about getting prepared for winter. So getting your vehicle prepared, there's some things that you need to do. Obviously get the maintenance up to date, so oil change, get the coolant checked, recommend putting on winter tires. So making sure that your vehicle is all set to go, checking the windshield wipers, make sure they're not frayed so that if you get into some icy conditions where they're putting down salt, that once it sprays up in the window, you're able to get it off. So that's the first thing is to make sure that your vehicle is all set to go. Okay, so you've got your vehicle prepared for winter, you've gotten it all checked out, now you're planning to go on a trip. So there's a couple things that you probably want to do. First thing is top up your tank, make sure you have lots of gas in your tank, make sure you have all the fluids topped up. Next thing is preparing for that trip. So planning your trip, checking out the weather where you're leaving from and the weather where you're going to. So you want to check out the weather and road conditions. The MTO has a phone number that you can call to check out those conditions, make sure that there aren't any roads closed. If the weather's not very good and you really don't have to go, then why risk it and maybe just stay at home. But let's say that you've decided to go on that trip and you're getting prepared. Certainly equipping your car. I like to carry kind of 2 survival kits, so I'm going to talk about some of the equipment that you might want to carry along inside your vehicle if you're going on some type of trip. All right, so you're all set to go on your trip and you want to head off. So I recommend a couple things to carry along as a survival kit. Having 2 different kinds of survival kit, one that can stay in the car all the time and one that you can take with you out to the car, and we'll talk about some of those items. So the first item in your car is to have some kind of traction stand in case you get stuck on some ice. So here's a little bit of salt mixed in there. So some type of material, whether it be kitty litter, here's some salt, that'll give you some traction. So the next thing we're going to talk about is some things that you might want to carry in the trunk. So here we have some flares. If you're involved in some type of emergency, you want to set up some type of distress or signal that your vehicle is in distress. We've got some flares. We've got a multi-tool here in case you need to do some repairs. We've got some good old duct tape that will help kind of fix pretty much anything. We've got the ice scraper. So a lot of times people just zip out and head out in their vehicle without scraping their windows. So obviously having that available so that you can make sure that things are nice and clear so it's safe for driving. We have a fire extinguisher in there in case we get into trouble or we need to offer some assistance. One of the probably the biggest things is to have some type of safety vest. We don't recommend getting out of the vehicle unless you absolutely have to. If you have a flat tire or need something fixed, it's best to remain in your vehicle so you don't get struck and call for assistance, call police, call a tow truck. But if you absolutely have to get out, you want to be seen, so having some type of safety vest. Next, we move along with some of the stuff that we might want to carry in case we're stranded. So I've packed some raisins, some peanuts, some food there. We've got some water. Take along that. So these types of items I'd probably carry in my second safety kit that I just take out to the car so things like that don't freeze. So I've got some protein bars there. Of course, I would want to bring enough food for the amount of people that's in the vehicle. So having enough, depending on how many people are going on the trip, having that amount of food. Next thing we have is obviously a source of heat. So I've got a lighter here which will light a candle. It'll provide some heat and some light. Next thing I have here is I have a crank powered flashlight, all right, and then I have a crank powered, solar powered radio, which also doubles as an ability to charge a cell phone. So I can plug my cell phone into this and crank it and charge my cell phone, which I could use to call an emergency. So the cell phone is another good thing, obviously, to carry along in your vehicle. Have that for emergencies in case, obviously, I need to call for assistance. And having that crank there will allow me to keep that cell phone charged. First aid kit in the vehicle, very important in case there's some type of emergency. And then we get into keeping ourselves warm. So obviously, I have a blanket there. If I have more than one person, then obviously enough blankets to keep everybody warm. I have extra clothing in there, as well as mitts and some type of hat. So I'd pack a lot of this stuff into the kit. The water and the food and stuff I may keep in a separate kit. Then obviously I also want to think about when I go on the trip being prepared as far as a map. Okay, if I get rerouted, do I know where I'm going? Do I have a GPS? So if I get off the beaten track, how do I find my way around? So it's important to be prepared that way.
This tire is completely wore out. There's the wear bars. You should have 4/32 tread on the wear bar for safety. So this is way below safety, and we just took this off the car. Now, this is what the tire should look like. And this is just an all-season radial, or our class is an all-season radial. But the all-season radial loses its grip at 7 degrees. The compound of the rubber changes. So now we go to a winter tire. This tire works very well in the snow. It certainly gives you more grip than the radial. And then for the performance and ice and snow, this is the tire. The component, the rubber is softer. It has more sipes and cuts and grooves in it to stick to the ice. Now is definitely the time to come in and change your tires. We're busy, but it's not crazy yet. If it snows, you'll be in a lineup for hours. So it's best to come in and get it done, as soon as you can. We also store tires here, so we have quite a stock of stored tires. So it will be very busy the very first snowstorm. So best to come in as soon as you can.
So here's some more tips to help you get through that dreaded winter season. First off, we like to talk about antifreeze. A lot of people don't realize that there are 2 different types of antifreeze on a vehicle. There's the regular green type that's in this vehicle, normally green, and then on some vehicles, some of the newer ones, there's an orange coolant, which is a long life coolant. One major thing, mixing of those 2, green and orange together, normally make gel, and that is a bad thing for your vehicle. So always make sure green in the vehicle stays green, orange stays orange. Canadian Tire and some other places now sell a universal coolant that will go back and forth. I'm just going to show you how to test the coolant on this vehicle. So on this vehicle here, the coolant, excellent color, it's bright green, and the gauge is well above -45, which will get us through this winter. Another thing we'd like to cover quick, wiper blades. There's this blade here is designed, it's a metal blade, normally designed for summer use. They do have a winter blade. You'll see the winter actually has no metal to stick and to be difficult in the winter, and it'll stay much more flexible. Another important thing for winter maintenance is making sure that your battery has enough residual power to start your vehicle on those cold mornings. Most batteries today I find are good for between 3 to 5 years. There's no such thing as a lifetime battery on vehicles anymore. We're just going to go ahead and test this battery here. On this battery here, it's calling for 860 cold cranking amps. We're just going to see where we're at here. Okay, so this battery is actually testing very weak. It's about 550 cold cranking amps, and as you can see at the top here, the battery voltage when tested is almost to 10 volts. Most computers these days shut off at 10.5 volts. So on this particular vehicle, I'd recommend to change that battery.
So let's talk about, you've gone on your trip and the weather's turned kind of ugly. We'll talk about 2 kind of conditions that you might find yourself in. I guess the first one would be you're driving along and now you come across barricades. We've shut the road down, we've set up barricades, and you've decided that perhaps you really need to get where you're going, and you decide to go around it. I guess there's a couple of issues or problems with that. One, once we shut the roads down, it is illegal to go past the barricade, so certainly you risk a fine. But more importantly is when you go around those barricades, you put other people at risk. You put the emergency services at risk, because now we have to go out there and we have to try and find you, which puts officers at risk, puts other emergency services at risk. So going around the barricades, obviously we've shut the road down for a reason. You may not know that reason. It might be because of weather conditions. It might be because the bridge is out. So if you decide to go around those barricades, you're putting a lot of people's lives at risk by doing so, as well as it being illegal. So let's say, for instance, you don't go around the barricade, but you find yourself stranded on the roadway. The weather has turned very poor and you can't continue on. So now you've become stuck and stranded. The important thing is to remain in your vehicle. That's the safest location for you to be. Don't get out. You might get caught in a whiteout and are unable to find your way back. So first of all, stay in your vehicle. If you have a cell phone, call for assistance. It may take us a little while to get there, but certainly we will be able to get to you. So having that emergency kit in your vehicle certainly will be very useful. So first of all, calling for help. Be prepared to stay there, so having your emergency kit and utilizing that. So having warmth, having shelter, which your car will provide. Certainly if you have lots of people in the vehicle, you know, if you have kids, having some type of activity, so throwing some type of activity in the vehicle, games, books to read, having some food certainly will make your stay in your vehicle a lot more comfortable. But I guess I really can't emphasize enough remaining in your vehicle, remaining with your vehicle. Don't get outside unless you absolutely have to. If you're burning something like a candle, just crack the window open a little bit, run your car every so often, don't leave it running. When the car is running, make sure that the exhaust pipe is not covered by snow so that any exhaust fumes can escape, so by having the windows open a little bit. And like I said, running your car on and off, having a means to keep your cell phone charged. Like I said, I have that charger that I can crank. And certainly, like I said, we will get to you. Emergency services will get to you. Depending on the number of vehicles that are stranded, it might take us a little bit of time. But if you have your survival kit, certainly you should be well looked after.
As far as your insurance policy goes, if you are caught driving on a closed or unauthorized road and there's a claim that occurs, your policy may not respond in the result of that claim.
One further tip is a lot of people try to save money in the summertime by adding regular water to your windshield washer fluid. Big problem. It'll freeze the tank, it'll freeze and break the pump. A lot of people, first winter, it goes really cold like that and they have no windshield washer fluid. Make sure you have the approved -40 washer fluid.